The first time Commander Virex saw a human drink boiling liquid, he activated his emergency distress beacon. It had been a long week aboard observation vessel Halcyon 7, parked just outside the thermosphere of Earth. Virex, a senior researcher for the Intergalactic Behavioral Council, had been sent to study human resilience under common planetary stressors. He had expected to observe humans reacting to harsh weather, interpersonal conflict, and perhaps emotional grief. What he hadn't expected was to witness a man deliberately pour near boiling liquid into a fragile biological cavity and smile afterward. The human's name was Iven Jarlson. He was 37 Earth years old, a mechanical systems engineer living in a modest residential zone in northern Idaho. Virex had selected him for his average metrics: average height, average cognitive efficiency, average social output. He was the control specimen. Nothing extraordinary, nothing dangerous, until the boiling liquid. Virex had been perched, invisibly cloaked, in the corner of Ivan's kitchen ceiling. The human had just completed a morning jog and returned home, soaked in sweat and humming a strange tune. He had then filled a steel kettle, placed it on a heating coil, waited until it screamed, and poured the steaming liquid into a ceramic cup. Virex noted the temperature: 97 degrees Celsius. Lethal. The human added a brown powder, stirred, lifted the cup to his lips, and drank. Virex's translator module stuttered as his core processor lagged from sheer confusion. "Ensign roll," Virex called through his comms. "Get in here." The test subject just consumed a volatile fluid. Rule entered the observation chamber, his oculars flickering. "Which fluid, Commander?" "I believe it's a mixture of ground seed particulates and heated water. The temperature exceeds safe thresholds. He should be convulsing." They both watched as Ivan leaned against the counter, eyes half closed, then said out loud, "That hits the spot." Rule tilted his head. "He appears pleased." Virex rewound the footage, analyzing the intake sequence. No protective gear, no cooling period. He drank the liquid within 4 seconds of pouring. "Should we intervene?" "Negative. Prepare a secondary probe. I want full biometric analysis. Something is deeply wrong with this species." The next morning, Virex deployed a Class 3 micro-drone to analyze Ivan's waste bin. It returned with remnants of used coffee filters, further confirming the act. Not a single burn mark on his tongue or esophagus had been detected in the thermal scans. Virex had the ship's biointelligence run simulations no matter the angle, pressure, or lineage of physiology. Ingestion of liquid at that temperature should have ruptured internal tissue. Yet Ivan did it again the next day. And the next. On the 4th day, Virex escalated the case to the council. "You were requesting what?" Counselor Thava asked, her triple pupils narrowing. "A temporary uplift of the Prime Directive. I wish to make direct contact with the human." Counselor Thava paused before responding. "To discuss his drinking habits? They defy thermodynamic logic. You're willing to risk diplomatic exposure over a beverage?" "It's not just the beverage," Virex said. "It's that he does it daily. With joy." Thava leaned back. "You have 72 Earth hours. Do not compromise the veil." Virex chose a quiet, wooded trail near Ivan's home for first contact. He wore a bipedal exosuit designed to appear vaguely humanoid, tall, slightly translucent, with soft blue lights for eyes. He intercepted Ivan during an afternoon hike. Ivan froze, then raised his hands slowly. Hey there. You." "Okay. I come in peace," Virex said, voice modulator smoothing out the harsher frequencies. "Great. You need help? You look a little flickery." "I am studying your kind." Ivan lowered his hands. "This is a prank, right? One of those viral things?" "No. I am aware of your coffee consumption." Ivan blinked. "Wait, what? You consume boiling liquid regularly. This violates biological safety parameters. My species finds this perplexing." Ivan snorted a laugh. "You mean coffee?" "Yes. Explain how you survive it." "I just drink it. It's not boiling when I sip it. It cools a bit." Virex pulled up temperature logs. 97 degrees Celsius. "Well, yeah, but it's not all at once. You sip it. Our mouths adapt. Adaptation to that level of heat is not biologically supported." Ivan scratched his head. "You ever tried it?" "I would combust." "That's a shame. You're missing out." Virex paused. "Would you permit me to observe you during the preparation process?" Ivan shrugged. "Sure. You allergic to cats?" "No." "Good. Mine's kind of rude." The field station aboard Hack Scion 7 was reconfigured to monitor Ivan's entire routine. Everything from bean grinding to mug selection was cataloged. Virex sat silently as Ivan brewed another cup, whistling off-key. You know, Ivan said, I started drinking coffee in college. It was either that or fall asleep in calculus. Why not use stimulant patches? Too expensive. Coffee's cheap. Plus, it tastes good. Virex watched as Ivan took a careful sip. His tongue made contact with the surface at 48 degrees Celsius, a temperature still painful for most species. He swallowed and smiled. I don't understand, Virex said. Neither do I, honestly. But it's comforting. Comforting. Yeah, like, I know the world's still spinning. I've got bills, deadlines, my neighbor's dog won't shut up. But for a few minutes in the morning, it's just me and the coffee. It's not boiling liquid. It's peace. Virex recorded the statement. Fascinating. Over the next several days, Virex escalated his research. Ivan allowed blood samples, tongue swabs, even a thermal stress test, though he made Virex promise not to publish any footage of him gagging on a cold probe. Then, during a joint observation session, everything changed. Ivan slipped on the wet kitchen tile while carrying his mug. He landed hard, the ceramic shattering beneath him. Coffee splashed across his abdomen and thighs. He screamed in pain. Virex surged forward, activating emergency protocols. Medical trauma. Severe dermal burns. Ivan clenched his teeth, gasping. God, that's burns 2nd degree? Possibly 3rd. Do not move. Virex summoned the ship's med unit, which carried Ivan aboard under cloak. For the first time, a human entered the Hack Scion 7. Ivan drifted in and out of consciousness as autosurgeons treated the burns. Virex stood nearby silent. The human's resilience had limits. The boiling liquid had finally turned against him. 3 weeks passed. Ivan remained aboard, too injured to return home. The burns healed slowly. Skin grafts took time. Virex observed every stage, logging recovery rates and pain thresholds. You know, Ivan said once, voice hoarse, this might have been the universe telling me to cut back on caffeine. You came close to systemic shock. Yeah. Guess I'm lucky you were around. Virex paused. I do not understand your tolerance for suffering. Neither do I, Ivan said. But we don't always choose what hurts. We just choose what's worth it. When Ivan could finally walk again, he asked for one thing. Can I have a cup? Virex stared. Of coffee? Yeah. Just one. I'll let it cool this time. Virex hesitated, then nodded. Ivan brewed a small batch, waited patiently, tested the temperature, then took a slow sip. He smiled. Virex recorded the moment. Still tastes like peace, Ivan said. Virex added a final note to his report. Subject demonstrates high pain tolerance, irrational habit persistence, and emotional bonding with harmful substances. Conclusion. Humans may not be invincible, but they are remarkably stubborn. And somehow that made them fascinating. It had been 12 days since Ivan returned to Earth. Commander Virex stood at the edge of a dry riverbed in the Utah desert at dawn, watching the human from a cloaked distance. Ivan was seated on a folding chair beside a small electric cooler and a rusted-out van with a missing hubcap. He was not drinking coffee. He was watching ants. Why are we watching insects? Rule asked, shifting the weight of his observation pack. He requested solitude, Virex replied, then invited us to witness something more impressive than caffeine. I am curious. Ivan dropped a sugar cube onto the sand. The ants swarmed it in seconds. Watch this, Ivan said to no one in particular. From his cooler, he pulled a sealed container and peeled it open. Inside, a slice of watermelon. He placed it next to the sugar cube, then leaned back. Let's see what they choose. The ants hesitated, then redirected toward the watermelon. See, Ivan said, they always go for the good stuff. No matter how hard the path. Roll whispered, he summoned us to monitor insect snack preferences? Virex didn't answer. Instead, he studied Ivan's posture. His hands were steady, movements deliberate. No signs of lingering muscular trauma. His skin, though reddened in patches, had largely regenerated. The dermal grafts had integrated. But it wasn't Ivan's recovery that Virex found notable. It was his behavior. Is this a ritual? Virex asked, decloaking with a shimmer. Not really, Ivan said. Just a reminder. Pain makes you pay attention. A pleasure, that's where the real decisions happen. Virex stepped closer. You speak in riddles. No, I just don't bother pretending it all makes sense. He stood up, brushing sand from his jeans, then opened the side door of the van. I need a favor, he said. Virex tilted his head. From me? Yes. I want to go back up. To the ship? No, to orbit. I've got an idea and I need zero gravity. That is not a minor request. Neither's igniting your stomach lining every morning for a decade. Roll groaned. I am not authorized to. I will handle the approval, Virex interrupted. Explain your objective. Ivan stepped into the van and returned with a duffel bag. He unzipped it, revealing several crude components, copper tubing, a sealed thermos, a bundle of wires, and a small hand pump. I think I can make a pressureless brewing system for microgravity environments. Virex stared. You wish to construct a device to prepare your beverage in space? Yes. Why? Because there's no reason astronauts should have to drink instant powder sludge when they could have real coffee. And before you say anything, yes, I know liquids behave differently in 0G. That's why I need to test this outside the gravity well. You are recovering from extensive trauma. Exactly. Which means I've had a lot of time to think. Virex considered. You will submit to medical monitoring throughout the test. Deal. 3 days later, Ivan stepped aboard HAC Scion 7 again, not as a patient but as an engineer. He wore an orange flight suit borrowed from a defunct Soviet capsule that had been salvaged by a collector friend. He claimed it was lucky. The suit smelled faintly of vinegar and regret. Inside the observation deck, Virex had cleared a section of the lab and activated artificial microgravity. Ivan floated in, duffel in tow, and got to work. The assembly process was chaotic. He anchored a mesh frame to the wall, mounted a modified bicycle pump beneath it, and connected the copper coil to a heating element scavenged from a defunct protein polymerizer. For filtration, he used a sock. That is not a sanitary method, Roll said. It's clean. Washed it this morning. You were using it as a filter? Look, I could have used synthetic mesh, but then it wouldn't be a proper test. Gotta run it like I would back home if my coffee maker died and I was desperate. You are always desperate, Virex muttered. Ivan grinned. That's the spirit. They floated in silence as he primed the system, flicking air bubbles out of the tubing. What inspired this? Virex asked. I read that during the Apollo missions, the guys had to drink everything from bags through straws. Sludge, mostly. Dehydrated stuff. No flavor. Nothing to look forward to. You wish to improve morale through caffeine? Morale, ritual, taste, take your pick. But mostly? It just bugs me that no one solved this yet. They'll spend billions on propulsion but can't figure out how to make a decent cup once they're up there. That's ridiculous. The heating coil glowed. Steam hissed through the copper. The sock bulged slightly. Ivan maneuvered a small vacuum-sealed pouch beneath the outlet tube. It's ready. No one spoke. The fluid emerged in slow, syrupy globs, coalescing in the pouch with a lazy swirl. Ivan sealed it, gave it a shake, then clipped a sipping nozzle to the corner. He took a cautious pull. He blinked. Okay, he said, it's awful. But it's real. Roll leaned forward. You succeeded? Technically. The temperature distribution's uneven. It's over-extracted. But yeah, it's coffee. Virex recorded the entire process. You built this from scrap. In orbit. While partially healed from second-degree burns. Yeah. Feels good. You are an anomaly. I get that a lot. Over the next week, Ivan refined the design. The sock was replaced with carbon mesh. The copper was swapped for a titanium coil, donated by the ship's maintenance unit. They added a microcontroller to regulate flow rate. Each iteration was tested, documented, and tasted. Ivan kept notes on flavor profiles and thermal retention. Virex tracked vitals and stress levels. On the 8th day, Ivan invited Virex to try it. You are offering me a beverage that your species can barely tolerate. Not that one. I made a low-temp version, steeped over 6 hours. It's cold now. Virex hesitated, then accepted the pouch. He tilted it, letting the dark fluid flow into his intake chamber. Tasted like fermented bark. But Virex noted a strange sensation afterward, a subtle alertness. A gentle pressure behind the ocular nodes. You altered the chemistry? Just added a little cinnamon. You are unpredictable. Thanks. Later that night cycle, Virex stood alone in the gravity lab, watching the stars drift by. Ivan floated in, tethered to a handhold. You ever get tired of observing and not participating? I am not designed for participation. Neither am I. But here we are. They drifted in silence. Eventually, Ivan said, I want to name it. The device. Yeah. Go on. Percolatus 1. Virex considered. That is not a flattering designation. It's terrible. But it's mine. And somehow that made perfect sense. At precisely 4 hours past solar noon in Earth's Pacific Standard Time, Virex stood on the edge of the Halcyon 7's hangar chamber, watching Ivan adjust the final clamps on Percolatus 1's stabilizer ring. The human's knuckles were raw from orbit side fabrication, but he didn't seem to notice. I've triple-checked the seals, Ivan said without looking up. If this thing leaks, it's because the universe hates me personally. You believe in cosmic hostility? I believe in precedent. Roll hovered nearby, arms folded in quiet apprehension. He had not spoken since Ivan casually repurposed a coolant line to function as a pressure equalizer. The fact that it worked only deepened Roll's concern. Once you've completed this cycle, Virex said, what do you intend to do with the prototype? Donate it. To whom? First crewed Mars mission. They're launching next year. If this works, I'll file the schematics under open access. Roll's oculars pulsed. You are relinquishing intellectual property? Ivan straightened, shoulders cracking. It's coffee, not cold fusion. Let someone else patent the deluxe version with gold trim. I just want the real stuff to reach the people stuck between stars. Virex's gaze lingered on the burnt ring scarring Ivan's left wrist. The wound had healed, but the skin there refused to tan. Pale reminder, permanently etched. Begin your final test, Virex said. Ivan floated toward the control panel, anchored his boots, and initiated the sequence. The chamber lights dimmed as the heating core activated. The low hum of boiling water filled the space, followed by the soft click of pressure gates engaging. The scent hit them first roasted earth with a trace of citrus. Then came the sound a low, continuous gurgle. Finally, the brew emerged, suspended inside a transparent pouch, dark and almost luminous against the ship's sterile lighting. Ivan grabbed a pouch, sealed the valve, and held it out. You're up, Commander. Virex hesitated, then accepted the offering. He took a measured sip. Less bark this time, he said. I adjusted the grind size, Ivan replied. That and I didn't use a sock. You should have led with that. Hours later, the last batch of diagnostics uploaded into the ship's mainframe. The brew's chemical composition had stabilized across all variants. No leaks, no pressure failures, no cross-contamination. Percolatus 1 was viable. At midnight ship time, Ivan floated into the observation dome, rubbing sleep from his eyes. You're still up, he said. I do not require sleep in daily cycles. I envy that. Virex turned from the viewport. You did not return to Earth immediately. Why? Ivan scratched his jaw. I've been thinking about how something small can change the feel of everything around it. You put a hot drink in someone's hands and suddenly the cold isn't so sharp. Add cinnamon to a cup and it tastes like winter. I figured if we're sending people off this planet for years at a time, maybe a little comfort could go a long way. You believe comfort is critical to survival? I think it's what makes survival worth it. The silence was filled with the faint whir of the ship's environmental balancers. Outside, Earth turned slowly, its cloud systems curling like cream in black coffee. When do you return? Virex asked. Tomorrow. 8 a.m. Idaho time. Got a niece graduating middle school. Promised her I'd be back for it. You were leaving a functioning orbital laboratory to attend a ritual of juvenile education? Yeah. She's got braces and stage fright. I figure if I'm in the crowd, she might not pass out. Virex blinked twice. You prioritize emotional presence over scientific opportunity. Every time. The next morning, Ivan suited up in a clean jumpsuit, tugged a duffel over his shoulder, and stepped into the departure bay. Roll handed him a data crystal containing the full schematics and performance logs of Percolatus 1. Thanks, Ivan said. You didn't have to compile all that. I did not do it for you, Roll replied. I did it because I cannot bear the thought of you attempting to explain your design using napkin sketches and metaphors. I only used metaphors once. You compared thermal expansion to a balloon full of angry bees. Ivan grinned. Worked, didn't it? The shuttle detached from Halcyon 7 and descended toward Earth's atmosphere. Virex remained in the hangar long after the vessel vanished from sight. 3 weeks passed. In that time, the Intergalactic Behavioral Council reviewed Virex's full findings. The report included biometric data, psychological assessments, and several hours of footage showing Iven guiding a group of middle school students through a hands-on demonstration using a makeshift gravity simulator and a French press. Counselor Thava summoned Virex via live relay. You claim this technology, while primitive, is emblematic of human adaptability? Correct. They demonstrate ingenuity not through complexity but through utility. They design for need, not prestige. Noted. And the human. Iven. What became of him? He resumed his civilian occupation. He leads community workshops on environmental engineering. He recently constructed a solar-powered water heater from discarded satellite panels. Thava's pupils dilated slightly. He is not attempting to monetize his orbital invention? No. He declined offers from 3 aerospace firms. Why? He said, "It's not about the machine. It's about the moment it creates." Thava exhaled through her secondary gills. And you believe this human represents a broader pattern? Not entirely. But he exemplifies the species' capacity to derive meaning from discomfort and comfort from chaos. Very well. Case closed. Meanwhile, in Idaho, Iven stood at the edge of a community greenhouse, sipping from a dented mug. The brew inside was lukewarm, the beans slightly burnt, and the filter had been made from an old dress shirt. Still, he smiled. A girl with braces ran up behind him, holding a small plant in a cracked ceramic pot. "Uncle Iven, look, it's sprouting." He knelt beside her and examined the tiny green shoot. "See?" he said. "Told you. Life finds a way." Behind them, rows of solar stills glinted in the sun, their tubing lined with copper coils. Inside the greenhouse, a Percolatus 1 prototype whirred quietly, its pump drawing water from a captured rain barrel. No patents, no press releases, just a warm drink and a place to grow something new. Virex added one final footnote to his private log. Conclusion: humans are not governed by efficiency. They are governed by rituals, by stubborn hope, by the belief that even the smallest comforts can anchor them against an uncaring universe. This is not a weakness. It is their advantage.